crisis takes place when one or more countries have accumulated too much debt over their GDP. And by too much debt, we mean overall debt, public debt and private debt. And also what's important is to see how much this debt is going to represent of the future GDP. So the important thing is the stabilization of the ratio of debt over GDP. The goal in all debt crises, especially from the creditor's perspective, is to reach a point where this debt over GDP can be stabilized, so that in the future the goal is to keep a reasonable amount of debt over the GDP. And by debt we mean again public and private debt. However, most of the focus is centered, or most of the effort is centered right now in public debt. So if we are looking at a possible stabilization of the debt over GDP, this has two sides. On the one hand, one of the goals would be to reduce public debt. And in this sense, one of the most pursued strategies is fiscal consolidation. Governments in all peripheral countries and also in all the indebted countries are trying to reduce right now their public deficit. The other side of the coin would be trying to reach a reasonable increase or growth in their GDP. Because then, if you grow enough, then it's easier to stabilize this ratio. And precisely most of the reforms, the structural reforms that many of these countries are undertaking now, and also what the Pact of the Euro is pursuing, is to try to guarantee or find ways so that the countries can grow better or more once they get out of the crisis. On the one hand, you have debtor countries that through several years they have been accumulating too much debt, again public and private, but on the other hand you also have the other countries, the creditor countries, that have been the ones that have been lending money to these countries so that they could increase precisely their debt ratio. So right now Germany is putting a lot of the burden of the solution to debtor countries, mostly because it's blaming them for the crisis, to put it in this way. However, it's true that, again, we are all in the same boat, because if these countries have too much debt, on the other side, there are banks from France and Germany that are the ones that have been lending to these countries. And so the solution, whichever it is, would be affecting both the creditors and the debtors.